this morning. So I've been watching these videos on manufacturing and tariffs and everyone crying about not being able to make stuff here in America. And it got me thinking, I'd talk about this real quick. So one of the things that people don't understand about manufacturing is the development of a product is insanely expensive. The advertising to get your name out there is insanely expensive. And one of the ways that people circumvent these costs is by making their products overseas, right? It's the fastest way to do it because labor is so expensive. Right? So truth is, if you got to pay somebody $20 to $30 an hour to work on your product and make a product over and over again, right? All of those costs, or excuse me, all the costs for advertising and marketing have to come from profits, right? You have to actually make money, right? Whereas if you just make it overseas and your labor costs are essentially 90% less than they would be here in America, you can then funnel all that money into advertising and marketing. Maybe you can have a storefront. You can work more on research and development, and you can push more products, right? Which is kind of how the game works, right? So I'm going to flip my camera around. What we got going on here? So, okay, so see this sideboard right here, okay? In order for someone to make this, I have to pay somebody $20 to $30 an hour to work on this kind of product, right? I have to have engineering. I have to have the materials in here. I have to have all of this stuff, okay? Secondly is I have to have a location to make everything, okay? This is one of the things that people don't understand about the whole tariff thing, right? So when you see people crying about the cost of tariffs, right? Crying about the cost of getting their goods into America, what they're not telling you is that they don't make anything. They make nothing, right? And they have these beautiful places where they store all their products, right? So you see everyone, they have these really nice warehouses, right? They've got all those beautiful metal racks everywhere. They got everything, palletized, and they'll have the nice bar readers. Well, truth is that in order to start a small business, you can't afford any of that shit, right? The only reason you can afford that stuff is if you don't actually make a product, right? And this is the thing that we've done in America is we've told people, hey, guess what? You're a business owner and you're making an awesome product. All you got to do is manufacture it overseas, right? Then you get all this warehouse space here in America. You can hire a bunch of people really cheaply, and you can then spend all that money on marketing and on product development and all these kind of things. And in small business, we never have money for any of that shit. Right? So the truth is that the only way I get to make new products and manufacture new products is if I take the time to create the engineering, I take the time to create the drawings, I take the time to create the models, I take the time to do all the research and development building, right? Build the prototypes, all these kind of things. These people that sell, or excuse me, that have all their stuff manufactured overseas, they get to circumvent all that shit. Right? And the people that they're paying to do this stuff, the engineering, the design, the prototyping, all of the manufacturing process, they're paying those people $5 a day, right? So the other thing that they're doing is in order for me to, here, I'm gonna flip my camera around here again. So in order for me, I'm gonna give you guys just a quick look at my factory, okay? So basically what I gotta do is this is just one little room, right? So this is the only building that we can afford. And it's a nice old building, it's good. But that's where we make everything. And here this is gonna be our paint shop. Got a big paint shop. We got a big booth over there, and in here we've got an actual. That's where everything's cut, right? This is your furniture, kind of like your cut room, right? So we got all of our woodworking tools, things like that in here. We come in over here, and we'll come past our paint department. We come in here. We've got kind of a makeshift drying room. We got an area where we kind of let things further dry, and then in here we got this. Again, this is all an old building. We've got this room that is just dedicated to putting furniture together, right? It's kind of a cleaner room. It's where we can take everything after it's been painted and we can assemble it all, okay? Now, what these people are constantly crying about is the fact that it costs money to make stuff, right? And it takes skills to make things. And it's so much better if you can just hire somebody for $5 a day and you can have that person make it for you, and then you can spend all that extra money on advertising and marketing. Now, I would love that, right? So the truth is I spend anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month on advertising. Okay, that means that I have to actually make a product every day here in America with products that are made in America, right? Which means you have to pay more money for those things, which means there's less margin in order to spend all the money on that other stuff, right? The advertising, the marketing, the really nice facility, all the cool barcodes, the SAP systems. This stuff costs money. But if you let other people do it all for you, you get to keep all that money. Right? So then you can grow your business, and this is kind of how it works. Now, that's cool. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when the switch gets turned off, these people cry foul, okay? Now, they always say, oh, we don't make zippers here. I heard this lady talking about we don't make zippers, okay? Charlie, I'll get to you in just one second. Hold on, bud. I'm kind of going on a quick little rant here, and I'll go on my spiel. They say we don't make this, right? We don't make zippers. We don't make, foam. We don't make fabrics. They always tell you what they don't make, okay? I want to give you guys something to think about, okay? What happened during COVID? You guys remember this, right? I know we're not supposed to talk about COVID or whatever, but the point is that when we needed to make masks and stuff like that, every person in America suddenly found a way to learn how to sew, right? They found all the fabrics, right? They found everything. They suddenly were able to do it. I find it hilarious that when these tariffs come into play, everyone's losing their shit. Nobody can afford to, make their product here in America. Oh, we don't do injection molding. I hear that all the time. We don't do tooling. It's like, we got tons of people up the street that do tooling, right? They do the injection molding. They do all that stuff. But guess what? They're not $5 a day. And this is the real problem. So we got a whole bunch of business owners here in America that don't actually know how to make money, right? They only know how to make money if labor's $5 a day and there's no regulations. So this is a real problem with America. During COVID, we had a lot of these companies. We called them zombie companies. These were companies that were able to stay in business because there was so much cheap money, right? And the way the scam works is that you basically, you buy a product, right, for say $250,000 a year. You're buying all this product, right? You buy it at the beginning of the year. You take it in your store, right, because you don't have to pay labor to make anything. You put it in your store, and then you sell it all year long, and you siphon off a salary every year while you're paying your credit balance, right? This is how it works, and this is the whole thing about Black Friday. When Black Friday comes around in November, that's when you've paid off all the money that you spent at the beginning of the year, and you get to keep some for yourself, right? This is how it works. But truth is that so many people are making money just by using cheap labor and countries that don't have our regulations on our way of life here in America. And these people are all bitching right now because they're all gonna have to go back to work for other people that know how to actually make money, okay? So anyway, that's my little spiel. I'm starting with that. My name's Eric Wilkin. I own the Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small furniture company. We have about 7 employees. We do a small 7 figures a year. And it's a good company. We've been doing it for like 8 years at this point. And we have a little factory here. It's a fantastic way to make money, and it feels really good. And like I said, most of our people have been here for quite a while, and it's a good business, but it's a lot of work, right? We paint a ton of furniture, we make a ton of furniture, and we sell a lot of vintage furniture, So that's what we do here. Every day I try and talk about something that's related to business, and I listen to YouTube videos and stuff like that all day long, podcasts, things like that while I'm working. And lately I've been listening to these people crying about manufacturing overseas, and it really bugs me that these videos get so much attention. Meanwhile, there is almost nobody in America that has my message, which is that if they wanted to tariff us 1,000%, I'd be like, great, bring it on. Fine by me. Like, I don't make anything overseas, right? Like most of my stuff is made here in America. There's little parts and things like that might be made overseas, but everyone is so quick to tell you that, oh, we're too integrated. We can't turn this off. We can't make that. We can't make this. They love to cry about what America can't do. The truth is that, like I said, during COVID, we found a way to make the most popular thing at the time, which was masks or any kind of, thing to cover your face. Suddenly everybody became a seamstress, right? Suddenly all that shit was available, even though you couldn't get it from China. Somehow we all managed to make it here in America. So I find it really funny. But anyway, that's my spiel. Okay, so what we got going in here? Yes, sorry, Charlie. Yes, and that's one of the things about when I do these lives, I try to do them most of the time about 4 o'clock today, but I'm listening to this chick cry about tariffs and how she just can't deal with the uncertainty. And it's like, you know what? That's small business. That is literally business. Like, I have no idea if I'm going to have enough sales next month to make my payroll. Right? I have no idea. I have to go out there, I have to sell, I have to come up with money, I have to come up with financing. I constantly have to come up with ways to get my products in here, to pay my employees, and this is business. And these people just whine constantly about, oh, I don't have access to my cheap labor, and I don't have access, to my manufacturing facility that has no environmental regulations, has no standard regulations for labor, has no transportation regulations. It's just the constant whining of these people, and this is the thing that, again, as a furniture manufacturer in America, like, all my shit's made here, all of it. And maybe it's just dumb luck, but again, if someone said, well, you know what, you can't buy this plywood anymore, we're going to sell it someplace else, I'll go find another vendor. That's literally part of being a small business owner, is finding new vendors to get your shit, right? Cheaper vendors that are going to be more important than being cheap, but are going to be consistent and predictable. That's the thing that we pay. Like, one of these guys, well, here, I'll go through some comments real quick. Okay, Charlie 420, hire Mexicans. Yeah, well, everybody does, because they're the only people that actually work. Like, it's a whole other thing. Like, Americans don't work anymore. Most people want to make a bunch of money, but most of them are not very good workers, to be quite honest with you. And truth is that I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I think I have 4 different ethnicities of people that work for me, right? Including my wife, who's from India. I'm the only white guy in my company, which is fucking bullshit, but it is what it is, right? Americans do not want to work anymore. They just don't, right? And you can pay them, it doesn't matter if you pay them $15 an hour or you pay them $30 an hour, you get the same exact work out of them, right? And people disagree with me on this because everyone always talks about how they're the exception, right? Like, I'm the greatest worker. And the truth is that when you hire as many people as we do over the years, you learn how people really are because you constantly cycle through people. And that's the only real barometer of what reality really is. You can't just take someone's anecdotal experience from, going and having 4 or 5 jobs over the course of, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. It's the person that hires 100 people over the course of 10 years that really understands what's going on, So anyway, Charlie, I hear what you're saying. And truth is that we only hire people that want to work. Like, the only people that stick around at my company are people that want to work, that want to come in every day, that want to do a good job. And our people are paid very well. They're paid, as well as we can possibly pay them. And that's the truth. Like, you want your employees to be happy because the truth is that it sucks hiring people. Hiring people is the worst thing you can possibly do, right? But again, if you're one of these people on YouTube crying about freaking the cost of, these tariffs, oh, my cost went up 100%. It's like, well, how about you just make it here in America then, right? Like, actually have to hire people and deal with the stuff that we have to deal with when it comes to hiring people. I was watching this guy who had a landscaping company yesterday, and he was talking about how nobody wants to work. And again, he could pay him $20, $30 an hour. They show up for a couple of days and then they're gone again, and everyone's on drugs and everyone, has some kind of home problem, or they got car problems, they got family problems, it's just everybody has freaking problems. Like, it didn't used to be this way. It didn't, I've been one of these guys that's I've worked in manufacturing for 20 years. You always show up to work early, you do your job, you go home, and it works out great. There's no home drama at work, right? And that's all changed. All of that's changed. Every freaking person's problem is now my problem, right? It doesn't matter what you got going on, whether I created that problem or your baby mama created that problem or whatever. And everyone does drugs. Like, everyone's hooked on freaking drugs. Everybody. Like, we keep having all these smoke shops and all these medical marijuana bullshit. They're trying to sedate everybody, guys. They just want everyone to be freaking numb so they don't see what's going on. We're a country in freaking decline. Because nobody wants to work. Everyone's on freaking drugs. Everyone's got all their freaking problems. And anyway, so Charlie, yes, I talk fast, I talk quickly because I'm learning to do all these live streams, right? I'm learning to put out all this content. I'm learning to talk about business because this is what I do. So right now, like, in my shop, I've got literally 6 cabinets going at the same time, and I'm the only furniture maker, and I run my company, right? I got people putting things together, I got people painting, I got people sanding, I got people doing vintage furniture. Like, we got a lot of things going on at this company, but finding furniture makers, extremely difficult, And of course, everybody talks, oh God, I'm so good. I'm an amazing furniture maker. I'm a great cabinet maker. I've been doing this my entire life. And then you hire them, right? And they say, oh, I want $30 an hour. I want $32 an hour, right? You pay them what they say they're worth. And then they show up and they can barely use a table saw. They barely know what's going on. They don't know what half the tools are, right? And the best test you can give them is, hey, build me a drawer box. That's the only test that I know of that basically weeds out all the people that talk shit. And you go look at their work, like, you get people, they'll cut corners left and right. Anything they can do to not have to go backwards and fix their mistake, right? So we got a lot of that going on today. But point is, what I want to talk about, again, was these people that are crying about making stuff in China. And this just pisses me off to no end. So people don't know this, I make hardware in India, right? India's the brass capital of the world. Like, they make everything that's brass, right? So we make tons of hardware over there. So we have to deal with the tariffs. Yeah, we have to pay 26%, I think, tariff on top of what we were paying before. It used to be like 2.5%. Now it's 26%, right? So every time I bring in hardware, and here's a good tip for you guys, okay? Oh, yeah, pro yapper. Yeah, no shit. I hear it from my wife, too. I can yap, okay? Let me tell you guys how the tariff thing works, okay? So here's what's going on. And this is the thing about tariffs that you guys really need to understand when you buy cheap Chinese shit, okay? The labor in these other countries, it is so cheap. Most Americans can't even fathom how cheap it is to make stuff in another country, okay? So here's the numbers, all right? So when I sell my hardware, okay, I make, I think I got probably 20 different kinds of hardware that I sell at this point, okay? But here's one of them, right? So one piece of hardware that I buy in India costs me $3, right? It's probably, I don't know, 3-inch pole, something like that, 10 inches, right? That's 10 inches. It's like a 3-inch pole, okay? Truth is that thing cost me like $2-3. I pay the tariff on it, 26%, right? So let's just say that bumps it up to, we'll just say it's $3, right? We'll say it's 50%, $3, okay? I sell that pole for like $70, okay? So think about that, $70 freaking dollars. That's what I sell that thing for, all right? So if that's just one piece of hardware, I got a lion knocker pole that I sell. It cost me $18 to buy it from India. I sell it for $175, okay? And I sell this shit all day long. Okay. Now, this helps to offset some of the furniture that I make, because I don't always make tons of money on my furniture, right? There's some things I make fantastic money on. Other pieces of furniture I don't make nothing on, right? Truth is that's how business works. Businesses go back and forth, right, with where you make your money. Sometimes you make a lot of money on things. Sometimes you don't make any money. It's just a constant act like this. But if you circumvent all of the work that has to get done to make anything here in America for that foreign labor, you can make a shit ton of money. And that's what we've done, guys. Like, that's what we've done. The idea that you have to work hard in order to make something here in America and shit's gonna go sideways and you're not gonna make the kind of profit margin that people wanna make today. And I don't know what we do. Guys. All right, more comments. My bro is a pro yapper. Yeah, I saw that one. Yes, I know, I'm a pro yapper. Part of learning to talk is to talk. Right, and the thing about most people, when they talk, they go, yeah, they kind of think, and they do all this kind of stuff. And I've just taught myself, probably the year that I've done this, that when the camera goes on, you just go. There's not a lot of, well, let me collect my thoughts. Like, you learn to fill time, and that's one of the reasons I do this stuff. That's why I put all my videos about, how to make furniture. I put up videos about how I'm running a company, how we run this business called the Resplendent Crow. You guys Google it, get on there, and check it out. It's a furniture company. We make furniture, we sell furniture. We're not selling coffee cups and koozies and knives and all the other bullshit that people sell. That's another thing, right? These people, they'll make videos on YouTube, and they're very entertaining. They get a lot of views and all that kind of stuff. But when you go look at what it is that they do full time, their business model is set up to sell advertising with YouTube and then to sell you t-shirts. Like you're buying t-shirts from a woodworker. You're not buying furniture from them because they don't sell any furniture because it's too damn hard. It's the same thing for these people that are selling stuff that is made in China or Vietnam or Indonesia and these other countries. They don't really want to do the work. So they buy a really nice warehouse. They take all their cheap shit that they brought in that has, a 250% markup, guys. So when you learn to buy stuff overseas, you're going to learn that there's a floor for everything that you can sell products at, right? So if you buy a product overseas, say it's $10, right? By the time it gets over here, it's been marked up several times, okay? So it might get here, it might cost $20 or $30, right? Well, in order for you to then turn around and resell that product, you're gonna have to sell it for 2.5 times what the importer is bringing into America for, unless you're the actual importer, right? So by the time that product gets in here, it could be marked up 3, 4, 5 times, right? And that's how these people make money. Right? We have an entire economy of people that are just selling cheap baby toys and selling, people talk about, I spent all this time designing this product and, we got to make sure the colors match and I got to make sure the fabrics are just right. And the truth is these people haven't designed shit. They haven't done anything. They've just been dealing with some manufacturer over in another country who's used to dealing with 100, 1,000 other people, and they're giving you a selection of products, right? And they call that design. They call that, I made this product, it's so amazing. They haven't made shit. And that's the great thing about America is the #1 consumer of everything in the world. It's literally what we do best, right? It used to be we made things. It used to be we had a great military. Now we're just great consumers of all things foreign made and all things American made. It doesn't matter. We just love to buy shit, right? And that's what we're doing, So anyway, I said this is a quick little live. I didn't plan on talking about this, but I just got so tired of listening to these videos today of people constantly crying about how they're going to be affected by, the increased costs from China. They haven't complained one time about all the regulations going up in America, right? I talk about the Code of Federal Regulations all the time. Code of Federal Regulations in the 1950s had 9,300 codes in it, okay? Today it has 87,000 codes, okay? That's why your shit's so expensive. Right? Everyone bitches about the cost of everything going up, right? The houses, you know how much shit's in houses? Like granite's like standard in houses now. You know, you got, 30-year shingles, and you got, crazy, crazy things going into homes. Same thing with cars. Everything's digital. Everything can potentially break. No one can fix anything anymore. It's a freaking nightmare. And so everybody's paying for it. The cost of everything goes up through the roof. The only way we can make money is to outsource all the production to another country and then bring it back to America, where we can then mark it up 100, 200%, take that money, put it into marketing and advertising and more product development, and we turn around and we sell these products over and over and over again. Like I said, it's a goofy way to make money, guys. Like, I don't understand how people don't see what's going on. Nobody makes anything in America anymore. It's just so much easier to deal with one of these outsourcing companies, or one of these like Gemma's a company. You guys can Google that one, GEMAH, I think is what they're called. And that's literally what they do. They just take your product, whatever product it is you're into, and they hook you up with manufacturing companies that then show you how to make that shit overseas. So like in my case, furniture, if I want to make furniture, I just hook up with this company. The company will then, charge me a fee. And last time I checked, the fee was like $5,000. And they'll take your, in my case, say a dresser, and that dresser, they'll say, okay, well, we need engineering. They'll evaluate the engineering, and then they'll figure out which manufacturing country best suits your product, right? So if you're going to use, you're going to use specific kinds of plywood, right? They're going to look at the country that has the best import regulations to get your product or your plywood into their country, right? The best country to get the hardwoods into your country, because truth is that we export more timber than anybody. Right, we're also a huge importer, but we also export a ton of it, and it's going to these other countries to make shit for Americans that we then bring back into this country and to sell to ourselves at major markups. It's a messed up system, guys. And like I said, I know this isn't a planned talk. I didn't do a ton of, I didn't put this one out a couple hours like I normally do. But if you're in it, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, add to the discussion, because this kind of stuff really needs to be talked about. Again, I see more and more of these videos online of people just freaking losing their minds about their livelihood. And truth is that you chose the wrong livelihood, right? And this happens to everybody. Like, during the course of your life, you will run into a situation where your industry is in the dumps. And this is called small business, right? Small business does not always just go up, right? It's not, the whatever graph go up constantly, like the way like federal spending is, right? It's just, truth is that sometimes business goes down, and every business is affected by this stuff. And the idea that just because you make stuff over in China that you're never going to get hit with increased costs is horseshit. I don't subscribe to that. So anyway, I got to get back to work, guys. I appreciate everyone watching and putting up with Eric talking like really fast. And I'm super animated about this topic because, again, as an American furniture company here in St. Louis, Missouri, who actually makes furniture all day long, actually employs people to paint furniture all day long, sand furniture, and it has a regular old dirty old building, it's just, business is hard. And that's what I talk about. I talk about what business is actually like. I talk about the struggles that we actually go through as furniture makers, as furniture painters, as companies have to make payroll, deal with insurance, tort law, being sued, cease and desist letters, all the shit that you deal with as a company, and the facility falling apart, just whatever it might be. That's what I talk about on this channel constantly. So if you guys like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button and continue to watch, because I put it out all the time. Every Friday, I talk about what's in the shop. I spend like an hour or two just showing people what we built, what we painted, what's being shipped out, what broke, what customer problems we had. I talk about all kinds of stuff, money issues, whatever it might be. And it's good content. I think it's really important that people understand that business is very difficult. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with things being difficult. It builds character, right? So anyway, everybody have a great one. I'll yak you later.